I'm Sarah, 34 years old, a high school teacher from Portland. And 3 weeks ago, I woke up in a hospital bed, unable to move or speak. But I could hear everything, every whisper, every lie, every betrayal. And what I heard my husband and his mistress planning while standing over my dying body would change everything. This is my story, and I need to tell it because what happened to me could happen to anyone. Welcome to Martha's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video now. Drop your country and what time you're watching in the comments below, because this story gets absolutely insane, and I want to know where all of you are watching from. Let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you'll love it if you keep listening till the end. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. So let me take you back to the beginning. Trust me. You're going to want to stick around for this one. So, let me take you back to the beginning. My life before that hospital bed. Before the accident. Before I knew the truth about the man I'd been married to for 8 years. Marcus Chen. God, even saying his name now makes my stomach turn. But back then, I thought he hung the moon. We met in college. I was studying education. He was in business school. Marcus was charming, ambitious, driven. He had these big dreams of becoming a successful real estate developer, and honestly, he achieved them. By the time we'd been married 5 years, Marcus had built his own commercial real estate company from the ground up. We had the beautiful Craftsman house in the Pearl District. We took vacations to Hawaii in Europe. We talked about starting a family. I thought I knew this man. I thought I knew everything about him. I was teaching American literature at Lincoln High School, and I loved my job, loved my students, loved coming home every day to what I thought was a happy marriage. Marcus would tell me about his deals, his clients, his projects. I'd tell him about my students' essays and the school drama. We had date nights every Friday. We had inside jokes. We had a life together, or at least I thought we did. About a year ago, Marcus hired a new assistant, Kelly Morrison. She was 26, blonde, gorgeous, and according to Marcus, incredibly efficient. He talked about her constantly. Kelly organized the Jenkins file perfectly. Kelly saved us thousands on the waterfront project. Kelly is working late with me tonight on the proposal. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I trusted my husband. I trusted that our 8 years of marriage meant something. How naive I was. Kelly started showing up everywhere. Company dinners where spouses were invited. Kelly was there. Marcus's birthday party that I threw for him. Kelly stayed until midnight, helping clean up. When I'd bring Marcus lunch at his office, Kelly would be in there with him, sitting close, laughing at his jokes. My friends started making comments. My sister asked me point blank if I was worried about her. And you know what I said? I said, Marcus loves me. He would never cheat. I trust him completely. God, I was such a fool. Things started changing around 6 months ago. Marcus became distant. He was always on his phone, always texting, always taking calls in the other room. Our Friday date nights got canceled more and more often. He stopped touching me the way he used to, stopped looking at me the way he used to. When I tried to talk to him about it, he'd say he was stressed about work, that a big deal was coming together, that once it closed, everything would go back to normal. I wanted to believe him so badly. I wanted to believe that our marriage wasn't falling apart, that the man I loved wasn't slipping away from me. So I pushed down my suspicions. I ignored the sick feeling in my stomach when he'd smile at his phone screen. I pretended not to notice when he started going to the gym more and buying new clothes. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was being insecure, that everything was fine, but deep down, I knew some part of me knew that my marriage was a lie. I just didn't want to face it. Then came the night that changed everything. October 15th. I'll never forget that date. I was driving home from a parent-teacher conference that ran late. It was raining. Typical Portland October weather. I was on Highway 26 heading west toward home, The road was slick, visibility was poor, but I'd driven that route 1,000 times. I knew it like the back of my hand. I was going about 55 Betrayal, staying in the right lane, being careful. And then I needed to slow down for traffic ahead of me. I pressed the brake pedal. Nothing happened. I pressed harder. Still nothing. My brakes were completely gone. The panic that shot through me in that moment, I can't even describe it. I pumped the brakes frantically. Nothing. I tried to downshift, but I was going too fast. There was a semi-truck in front of me, brake lights glowing red through the rain. I was going to hit it. I yanked the steering wheel to the right, trying to get to the shoulder, but I overcorrected on the wet road. My car spun out. I remember the sickening feeling of losing control, the world spinning around me, the sound of my own screaming, and then the impact. My car slammed into the concrete barrier at 55 mph. The airbags deployed, but it wasn't enough. The driver's side of my car crumpled like paper. After that, everything went black. The next thing I remember is waking up. But waking up isn't the right term. I became aware. That's more accurate. I became aware that I existed, that I was somewhere, that something had happened to me. But I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even open my eyes at first. I could hear machines beeping, could hear voices around me, could feel something in my throat making it hard to breathe. But I couldn't do anything about it. Terror doesn't even begin to describe what I felt. Imagine being conscious, but trapped inside your own body, unable to scream, unable to call for help, unable to even let anyone know you're aware. It's a special kind of hell that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Well, maybe on my worst enemy. Maybe on Marcus and Kelly. I found out later that I'd been in a coma for 3 days after the accident. Multiple broken ribs, collapsed lung, severe head trauma, fractured pelvis, internal bleeding. The doctors had to do emergency surgery just to keep me alive. When I finally regained consciousness, I had what's called locked-in syndrome, a rare neurological condition where you're fully conscious and aware but almost completely paralyzed. You can't move, can't speak, can't even blink sometimes, but your mind is completely intact. You can hear everything, understand everything, feel everything. The doctors didn't know I was conscious. They thought I was in a vegetative state. They talked about me like I wasn't there, discussed my prognosis in clinical terms while standing right next to my bed. Minimal brain activity, unlikely to regain consciousness. If she does wake up, severe brain damage is probable. Quality of life would be severely compromised. And Marcus played the devastated husband perfectly. He was at my bedside constantly those first few days, or so the nurses told me later, holding my hand, talking to me, crying, telling me how much he loved me, how he couldn't lose me, how I had to fight to come back to him. What a performance! He should have won an Oscar. It was on the 4th day that I first heard her voice, Kelly, in my hospital room with my husband. "How is she?" Kelly asked, her voice soft, concerned, playing the worried employee, I suppose. "No change," Marcus said, and I could hear the strain in his voice, but not the strain of grief, the strain of impatience. "I'm so sorry, Marcus," Kelly said. "This must be so hard for you." There was a pause, and then I felt it. The pressure on my bed shifting, someone sitting down next to me, and then Marcus's voice closer now, closer to her. "I know this sounds terrible," he said quietly, "but part of me wonders if it would be better if she just didn't wake up." My heart would have stopped if it wasn't already hooked up to machines. Did I hear that right? Did my husband just say he wished I wouldn't wake up? "Don't say that," Kelly whispered. But there was something in her voice, something that wasn't quite convincing. "I mean, look at her," Marcus continued. "Marcus said they'll probably recommend moving her to a long-term care facility, but I have medical power of attorney. I can make the decision to let her go peacefully. That must be such a burden for you," Kelly said, and I could hear her moving closer to him. having to make that kind of decision. "It is," Marcus said. "But I think Sarah would want me to let her go if there was no hope. She wouldn't want to live like this. She'd want me to move on, to be happy again." Tears were running down my face. I couldn't feel them, couldn't wipe them away. But later, a nurse told me my pillow was soaked. My body was crying, even though I couldn't control it, couldn't express the anguish and betrayal that was ripping through my chest. "You deserve to be happy," Kelly whispered. "You've been through so much." And then I heard it, the sound that confirmed everything, the sound of them kissing right there in my hospital room while I lay paralyzed in the bed not 5 FT away from them. They were kissing, and I could hear the soft sounds of it, and I wanted to vomit. I wanted to die. I wanted to do anything but lie there and listen to my husband kissing another woman while discussing my death. They stayed for another 10 minutes, talking in low voices about mundane things, about his meetings the next day, about a client dinner, about how he should probably go home and get some rest. They kissed again before leaving, and then I was alone with the machines and the horror of what I'd just learned. That night was the longest of my life. I lay there, in the dark, unable to sleep, unable to escape my own thoughts. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of my life given to a man who was now planning my funeral while having an affair. How long had it been going on? How long had he been lying to me? Did he ever love me at all? Or was I always just a convenience, a placeholder until something better came along? And the accident, the brakes failing. Was it really just an accident, or was it something more? The thought kept creeping into my mind, even though I tried to push it away. Marcus was a successful businessman, not a murderer, right? But then again, I thought he was a faithful husband, and look how wrong I was about that. Over the next few days, Marcus and Kelly came to visit regularly, always together, always playing their parts when nurses were around. Kelly the concerned assistant, Marcus the devoted husband. But when they thought they were alone, when they thought I couldn't hear them, they let their masks slip. I learned so much about their affair in those visits. They'd been sleeping together for 8 months. It started at a conference in Seattle. Kelly had been drunk. Marcus had been stressed about a failing deal, and one thing led to another. After that, they couldn't stop. Secret meetings during lunch breaks. Weekends away when Marcus told me he was at business conferences. Late nights at the office that were actually late nights at Kelly's apartment. "I can't wait until we can be together publicly," Kelly said one afternoon. "I'm so tired of sneaking around soon," Marcus promised her. "Just a little longer once everything is settled." Settled. That's what he called my death. Getting things settled. They talked about their plans, about how Marcus would sell our house, the house I'd loved, the house where we'd planned to raise children and buy a condo downtown, about how they'd travel to Bali for a month, somewhere we'd always talked about going together, about how Kelly would finally get to wear all my jewelry, the pieces Marcus had given me over the years for birthdays and anniversaries. "Did you bring the necklace?" Kelly asked one day, her voice eager. "Yeah, it's in my jacket," Marcus said. "I heard rustling. Try it on. Oh, Marcus, it's beautiful." Kelly breathed. "The diamonds are even bigger than they looked in the photos you showed me. That necklace, the diamond pendant he'd given me for our 5th anniversary. He'd told me he'd saved for months to buy it, had it custom-made, told me it was a symbol of his eternal love for me, and now he was giving it to his mistress while I lay paralyzed in a hospital bed. The rage I felt in that moment was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It burned through me like acid. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to watch him suffer the way he was making me suffer. But all I could do was lie there and take it, absorb every cruel word, every casual dismissal of our life together, every excited plan they made for their future. My future, built on my grave. It was on the 8th day after I woke up that things got worse, so much worse. Marcus and Kelly came in later than usual that evening. The nurse had just left after checking my vitals. I heard the door close and their footsteps approaching my bed. "How was the meeting with the lawyer?" Kelly asked. "Good," Marcus said. "Really good, actually. I wanted to review everything with you." "Of course, baby," Kelly said. I heard her settle into the chair next to my bed. "Tell me everything." "So, the life insurance policy is $2 million, Marcus began, his voice businesslike, as if he were discussing a real estate deal instead of my death. "It pays out for accidental death, which this was. No issues there." $2 million. I didn't even know he'd taken out that large a policy on me. When had he done that? "The house is worth about $1.2 million in the current market," Marcus continued. "It's in both our names, but with her dead, it all comes to me. No mortgage, so that's pure equity. Her retirement account has about 300,000 inches. Her life insurance through the school district is another 500,000. All told, we're looking at about $4 million. He said, we? As if Kelly had any right to my money. To the life insurance policy that was supposed to protect our family, to the house I'd spent years turning into a home, to my retirement savings that I'd accumulated through 15 years of teaching. "Oh my God," Kelly whispered. "Marcus, that's incredible." "I know," Marcus said, and I could hear the smile in his voice, the satisfaction. "We'll be set for life. We can buy that condo in the Pearl District you loved. Travel wherever we want. You can quit working if you want to. We'll have everything we've ever dreamed of." "When do you think the insurance will pay out?" Kelly asked. "The lawyer said once she's declared dead or I make the decision to withdraw life support, it should be about 30 days for processing." Marcus explained, "The house will take a bit longer to sell, but I can put it on the market immediately. Maybe stage it as a sad widower hour who needs a fresh start. That'll help it sell faster." They both laughed at that. Actually laughed at the idea of Marcus playing the grieving widower hour to sell our home faster. The home where we'd had Christmas mornings and dinner parties with friends, the home where I'd planted a garden every spring, the home where I'd dreamed of bringing our babies home from the hospital someday. "I've already been looking at condos," Kelly said. "There's this amazing penthouse with Florida-to-ceiling windows and a rooftop terrace, 2 bedrooms, 3 baths. It's $2.5 million, but with the insurance money, we can afford it easily." Marcus finished. "Send me the listing. We'll go look at it next week." "Next week?" While I was still alive, still lying here, listening to them. They were planning their life together while I was still breathing. "What about the funeral?" Kelly asked. "Have you thought about that?" "The lawyer helped me start planning it." "Actually," Marcus said, "I'm thinking something small, intimate, just close family and friends. We'll do it at that nice funeral home in Lake Otsego, the one with the gardens. Will you do a burial or cremation?" Kelly asked. "Cremation," Marcus said immediately. "Burial plots are expensive and, honestly, I don't want a place I have to visit and pretend to grieve at. Plus, her family can't make a big shrine out of a cremation urn." My family. Oh, God. My family. My parents who loved Marcus like a son. My sister who'd been his friend before she was even mine. What would this do to them? How would they survive losing me and learning the truth about Marcus at the same time? That makes sense. Kelly agreed. "What about her things, her clothes and jewelry and stuff?" "I'll donate most of the clothes." Marcus said, "Keep the jewelry for you, the furniture we can sell with the house, or keep what we want for the new place. The rest I'll just get rid of. I want a fresh start. No reminders, no reminders." That's all I was to him now. A reminder to be disposed of, not his wife. Not the woman he'd vowed to love and cherish, just an inconvenient reminder of a life he wanted to erase. "I love you so much," Kelly said softly. "I know this is hard, but we're going to be so happy together." "I love you too," Marcus replied. "And honestly, part of me is relieved. I was going to have to divorce her eventually, and this way is so much cleaner. No splitting assets, no alimony, no drama. The accident was almost convenient. Convenient. He called my accident convenient. The accident that left me paralyzed and trapped in my own body. The accident that shattered my pelvis and broke my ribs and collapsed my lung. Convenient? And then Kelly said the words that changed everything. The words that confirmed my darkest suspicions. The words that turned this from a tragedy into a crime. "Did you cut her bra lines like you planned?" Kelly asked, her voice curious. "Or was the accident really just luck?" The room went silent. The only sounds were the beeping of my monitors and my own ragged breathing through the ventilator. My mind was screaming so loud I thought surely someone could hear it. He tried to kill me. Marcus tried to kill me. This wasn't an accident. He cut my brake lines. He sent me out on that rainy highway knowing my brakes would fail. He tried to murder me for insurance money and a girl half his age. "Kelly," Marcus said, his voice warning. "What?" Kelly said. "There's no one here. She can't hear us. You said yourself she's practically brain dead." "I know, but still," Marcus said, "we shouldn't talk about that." "Oh, come on," Kelly said, and I could hear her move closer to him. "You can tell me. I've been dying to know. Did you actually do it?" Another pause, a long one, and then Marcus's voice, quiet and cold. "Yeah," he said, "I did it." 2 days before the accident, I went out to her car in the middle of the night and cut the brake lines most of the way through. Weakened them enough that they'd fail under pressure, but not so much that she'd notice anything wrong right away. I knew she'd be driving home from that parent-teacher conference. Knew she'd be on the highway. It was supposed to look like an accident caused by the rain and bad road conditions. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. He really did it. He really tried to kill me. My husband. The man I'd loved. The man I'd trusted with my life. He'd crept out in the night and sabotaged my car and sent me to my death. "That's brilliant," Kelly said, admiration in her voice. "How did you know how to do it?" "YouTube," Marcus said, and he actually laughed. "There are tutorials for everything. I practiced on a junk car at a salvage yard first to make sure I knew what I was doing. The whole thing took maybe 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes was all it took for him to plan and execute my murder. 20 minutes to destroy 8 years of marriage. 20 minutes to try to end my life." "Were you worried you'd get caught?" Kelly asked. "A little," Marcus admitted. "But brake failure in the rain is pretty common, especially on older cars. And Sarah's car was a 2015. Not brand new, but not old enough to raise too many questions. The police investigated it as just an accident. They didn't even check the brake lines closely because the whole front end was so destroyed." "God, you're smart," Kelly purred, "and brave." "I don't know if I could have done it." "You didn't have to," Marcus said. "I did it for us, for our future, so we could be together without all the hassle of a divorce." They kissed again. I could hear them. Could hear Kelly moan softly. Could hear the rustle of clothing. And I had to lie there and listen to them celebrate my murder, my attempted murder. Because I wasn't dead. I was very much alive. And now I knew the truth. The rage and pain I felt in that moment was beyond description, beyond anything I'd felt before. It was a howling, shrieking hurricane inside my chest. I wanted to tear him apart with my bare hands. I wanted to make him feel every bit of pain he'd caused me. I wanted him to know that I'd heard everything, that I knew what he'd done, that he hadn't gotten away with it. But I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything but lie there with tears streaming down my face, drowning in the knowledge that my husband was a murderer and I was his intended victim. They stayed for another hour, making plans, discussing their future, kissing and touching, while I lay 3 FT away from them. When they finally left, I was alone with my thoughts and my fury and the terrible knowledge of what Marcus had done. I had to find a way to tell someone, had to find a way to make them understand that I was still here, still conscious, still aware. But how could I communicate when I couldn't move or speak, when everyone thought I was in a vegetative state? The answer came the next day, and her name was Emma. Emma Rodriguez was a nurse in the ICU. She was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a gentle touch. She'd been taking care of me since I was moved out of intensive care, and she always talked to me while she worked. Unlike the other nurses who treated me like an object to be maintained, Emma treated me like a person. "Good morning, Sarah," she said as she came in that morning. "How are we doing today? Let's check your vitals and get you cleaned up." "Okay." She moved around the room efficiently, checking the machines, adjusting my IV, making notes on her tablet, and then she leaned close to suction the ventilator tube in my throat, a routine procedure that happened several times a day. "This might be a little uncomfortable," she warned me, like she always did. "Just try to relax." And then she noticed. I saw her eyes widen as she looked at my face. "Sarah," she said, her voice uncertain, Are you crying?" I was crying again. The tears I couldn't control, couldn't stop. The only way my body could express the torment I was experiencing. "Oh, honey," Emma said softly, reaching for a tissue to gently wipe my face. "I know this must be so scary for you. Wherever you are, if I could have laughed bitterly, I would have. Wherever I was right here in this hell, listening to everything, feeling everything, unable to do anything about it." Emma finished cleaning my face and went back to her work, but I could see her glancing at me occasionally, a thoughtful look on her face. She was thinking about something. It was later that afternoon when she came back. During her regular rounds, she did her usual checks, and then she did something different. She pulled up a chair next to my bed and sat down, looking directly at my face. "Sarah," she said quietly, "I'm going to ask you something. And I know this might sound crazy, but can you hear me? If you can understand what I'm saying, try to blink just once. Can you do that?" Could I blink? I'd never tried. I'd been trapped in this body for over a week, paralyzed, unable to move. But maybe I could control my eyelids. Maybe that one tiny muscle still worked. I focused everything I had on my right eyelid. Every ounce of concentration, every bit of strength I had left. Blink, blink, damn it, blink. And I felt it, the tiniest movement. My eyelid fluttered just slightly. "Oh my God," Emma whispered. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, Sarah, you can hear me, can't you? Do it again. Blink if you can understand me." I did it again, focused everything on that one tiny movement. My eyelid fluttered once more. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Oh my God," she said again. "You're in there. You're conscious. You've been conscious this whole time." She stood up quickly, looking around as if she didn't know what to do. "I need to get the doctor. I need to tell them." No, she couldn't tell them yet. Not while Marcus still had medical power of attorney. Not while he could still make the decision to pull my plug. I needed to tell Emma the truth first. Needed her to know what Marcus had done. But how could I communicate that? How could I tell her with just eye blinks? Emma must have seen the panic in my eyes because she sat back down. "Wait," she said. "Are you scared? Blink once for yes, twice for no." I blinked once. Yes. God. Yes. I was terrified. "Okay," Emma said, thinking. "Are you in pain?" 2 blinks. No physical pain I could handle. It was the emotional pain that was killing me. "Is something wrong?" Emma asked. 1 blink. Yes. Everything was wrong. Emma bit her lip clearly, trying to figure out how to help me. "I'm going to get a letterboard," she said. It'll take time, but we can spell out words. Can you move your eyes left and right? I tried, focused everything on moving my eyes to the left. They shifted just barely, then to the right. Another small movement. Perfect, Emma said, standing up. I'm going to be right back. Don't worry, Sarah. We're going to figure this out. She left the room, and I was alone with a tiny spark of hope for the first time since I woke up. Emma knew I was conscious. She was going to help me. Maybe, just maybe, I could tell someone the truth about Marcus. Emma came back 20 minutes later with a printed sheet of paper. The alphabet was arranged in a grid, with the letters grouped by frequency of use. She held it up where I could see it. Okay, she said. This is going to be slow, but it'll work. I'm going to point to different sections, and you blink when I'm pointing to the section with the letter you want. Then we'll narrow it down. Ready? We started the painstaking process. Emma would point to a section of letters. I'd blink when she hit the right section. She'd narrow it down letter by letter. It took nearly an hour to spell out the first word. Danger. Emma's face went pale. You're in danger? She asked. From what? From who? Husband? Your husband? Emma asked, confusion and horror mixing in her voice. Marcus. But he's been here every day. He seems so devoted to you. I would have laughed if I could. Devoted? Sure. Devoted to collecting my life insurance. We continued spelling. It took hours. Emma had to leave for other patients and come back. But slowly, letter by painful letter, I told her everything about the affair, about the plans for my funeral, about the money, and finally about what I'd heard Kelly ask and what Marcus had admitted. Hecutmybrakes. Emma sat back in her chair, her face white. He tried to kill you? She whispered. Oh my God, Sarah. He tried to murder you for insurance money. One blink. Yes, and you heard him confess this. Him and his mistress. One blink. When do they come visit again? Emma asked. I spelled out Tonight. Emma looked at the clock. It was already 6 p.m. Marcus and Kelly usually came around 7. Okay, Emma said, her voice taking on a determined tone. Okay, I believe you, Sarah. And we're going to catch them. I'm going to record them. I'll hide my phone in here somewhere where it can pick up audio, and if they say anything incriminating, we'll have proof. She stood up and looked around the room, trying to find a good hiding spot. Finally, she tucked her phone behind the water picture on the table next to my bed, positioning it so the microphone was exposed, but the phone itself was hidden. It's recording? She whispered to me. If they confess again, we'll have evidence. Just stay calm, okay? I'll be right outside if you need me. Emma left, and I was alone with the recording phone and my racing thoughts. Would they say anything incriminating? Or had that conversation yesterday been a one-time thing, a moment of carelessness that wouldn't be repeated? At 7:15 p.m., I heard the door open. Marcus and Kelly. Hey, baby, Marcus said, and I knew he was talking to me, performing for anyone who might be watching. How are you today? Any changes? Silence as he presumably checked the machines or looked at my chart. Still nothing, he said. And now his tone was different, flat, disappointed. It's been almost 2 weeks, Kelly said. When can you talk to the doctors about soon? Marcus said the neurologist is supposed to give me his full assessment tomorrow. If he confirms there's no brain activity and no chance of recovery, I can make the decision to withdraw life support. And then? Kelly asked. And then we wait. Marcus said she'll pass within a few hours once we remove the ventilator. Then we start the process of settling everything. They were talking about killing me right there in front of me. They were casually discussing removing the machines that were keeping me alive. And they had no idea I could hear every word. That Emma's phone was recording every word. I can't wait to start our life together. Kelly said, really start it? Without sneaking around. Me too, Marcus said. You know what I was thinking after the funeral? After everything is settled, we should take a trip somewhere tropical. Bali or the Maldives. Just get away from everything." "On her insurance money?" Kelly asked, and she actually giggled. Actually giggled while discussing spending the money from my death. "Why not?" Marcus said she's not going to need it. Might as well enjoy it. There was silence for a moment. Then Kelly spoke again, her voice lower. "Do you ever feel guilty?" she asked, "about what you did?" My heart rate spiked, the monitor beeping faster. "Come on, Marcus, confess again. Admit what you did." "Guilty," Marcus said. "Not really. I mean, it's not like I wanted to hurt her, but our marriage was over. She was holding me back. This way is just cleaner. She doesn't suffer through a divorce. I don't lose half my assets, and you and I get to be together. It's better for everyone." "But you killed her," Kelly said. "Or tried to. Doesn't that bother you at all? Say it," I thought. "Say you cut the brake lines. Admit it out loud one more time." "Look," Marcus said, his voice getting harder. "We've been over this. What's done is done. The brake lines were already pretty worn. I just helped them along. It's not like I shot her or something. It was quick, mostly painless. She probably barely knew what was happening before the crash." There it was. Not quite as explicit as before, but close enough. He'd admitted to tampering with my brakes, to causing the accident, to trying to kill me. "You're right," Kelly said. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm being weird about this. It's just being in here with her like this. It feels creepy." "We don't have to stay long," Marcus said. "Just long enough to look concerned if anyone asks. Then we can go back to your place." They stayed another 10 minutes talking about mundane things. A client meeting, a movie Kelly wanted to see, what they were going to have for dinner. Just a normal couple having a normal conversation, except they were standing over the body of the woman one of them had tried to murder. When they finally left, I wanted to sob with relief. We had it. Emma's phone had recorded everything. Marcus's admission about helping my bra lines along. Their casual discussion of my death and how they'd spend my insurance money, all of it was on that recording. Emma came back in 5 minutes after they left. She grabbed her phone and plugged in headphones, listening to the recording. I watched her face go through a range of emotions: shock, disgust, horror, anger. When she finished, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry this happened to you. But we have them now, Sarah. We have everything on this recording. I'm going to call the police and your family. We're going to make sure Marcus pays for what he did to you." One blink. Yes. Thank God. Yes. But first, Emma said, "I need to talk to the doctor. You have locked-in syndrome, Sarah. You're fully conscious. Your brain is fine. You just can't move." The doctors need to know this immediately because it changes everything about your care and your prognosis. And more importantly, it means Marcus can't make any decisions about withdrawing life support. You're a conscious patient. You have rights. Emma left to get the neurologist, and I was alone with the overwhelming relief of finally being heard, of finally having someone who knew the truth, who believed me, who was going to help me. Dr. Patel, the neurologist, came in with Emma 20 minutes later. He was a middle-aged man with graying hair and intelligent eyes. Emma must have briefed him because he came straight to my bed with a pen light and that letterboard. "Sarah," he said gently, "Nurse Rodriguez tells me you've been communicating with her, that you can hear and understand us. I'm going to do some tests, okay? Just follow my instructions as best you can." He ran through a series of tests, asked me to blink on command, to move my eyes in different directions, to blink once for yes and twice for no to various questions. Each tiny movement I could make seemed to excite him more. "Remarkable," he kept saying. "Absolutely remarkable. Classic locked-in syndrome. Full consciousness, full cognitive function, but almost complete paralysis, except for vertical eye movement and blinking." He turned to Emma. This changes everything. We need to run a full neurological workup immediately, and we need to notify her family. Does her husband know? No, Emma said firmly, and we need to talk about that privately. Dr. Patel looked confused, but nodded. Sarah, I'm going to step outside with Nurse Rodriguez for a moment. We'll be right back. They left, and I could hear their muffled voices in the hallway. Emma was telling him everything about the affair, about the plan to withdraw life support, about the recording, about Marcus's confession that he'd cut my brake lines. When they came back in, Dr. Patel's face was grave. He looked at me with a mixture of compassion and horror. Sarah, he said, I've listened to the recording. I'm going to call the police right now, and I'm going to call your emergency contact list to find a family member who isn't your husband. Who should we call? My sister. I needed my sister. Emma helped me spell out her name and number using the letterboard, Jenifer, and then the phone number, digit by painful digit. Dr. Patel made the call. I couldn't hear what Jennifer said on the other end, but I heard his side of the conversation. Miss Chen, this is Dr. Patel from Oregon Health and Science University. I'm calling about your sister Sarah. Yes, she's stable. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Sarah has regained consciousness. I need you to come to the hospital immediately. There's been a development, and we need to speak with you in person. No, please don't call Marcus. This is very important. Come alone, and don't tell anyone else you're coming, especially not Marcus. I understand this sounds strange, but I promise I'll explain everything when you get here. How soon can you be here? Apparently, Jennifer said she'd be there in 30 minutes because Dr. Patel thanked her and hung up. Then he called the police. Yes, I need to report an attempted murder, he said into the phone. I have a patient who was in a car accident 2 weeks ago. She's been conscious the whole time with Lockett-in syndrome, and she heard her husband confess to cutting her brake lines to cause the accident. Yes, I'm serious. And we have a recording of the confession. Yes, we'll be here. She's in the ICU at OSU. After he hung up, Dr. Patel sat down next to my bed. The police are on their way. He said, So is your sister. We're going to make sure you're safe, Sarah. Marcus won't be able to hurt you again. The relief that washed over me was so intense, I started crying again. Emma gently wiped my tears. It's okay, she said softly. You're safe now. We've got you. Jennifer arrived first, bursting into the room with wild eyes and a panicked expression. When she saw me, tears immediately started streaming down her face. Sarah? She sobbed. Oh my God, Sarah, they said you were in a vegetative state. They said you'd never wake up. Dr. Patel guided her to a chair. Your sister is fully conscious, he explained. She has Locked-in syndrome. She can hear and understand everything, but she can't move or speak. She's been aware this entire time. Jennifer's hand flew to her mouth. The entire time? She's been conscious for 2 weeks and no one knew. We didn't know, Doctor, Patel said gently. The condition is rare and difficult to diagnose, but Nurse Rodriguez discovered it today when she noticed Sarah was crying and responsive to stimuli. Can she communicate? Jennifer asked, looking at me with desperate hope. Yes, Emma said with eye links and a letterboard. It's slow, but it works. Oh, Sarah, Jennifer said, moving to my bedside and taking my hand. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we didn't know. I've been so worried about you. One blink. It was okay. She was here now. That's what mattered. Dr. Patel cleared his throat. Jennifer, there's something else we need to tell you. Something Sarah communicated to us. It's about Marcus. Jennifer's expression changed to confusion. Marcus, what about him? He's been devastated. He's been here every day. Not every day, Emma said quietly, and not alone. And then they told her about the affair with Kelly, about the plans to withdraw life support, about the insurance money and the new condo, and the trip to Bali, about selling our house and giving away my things, and finally about the recording, about Marcus's confession that he'd cut my bra lines. I watched my sister's face as she absorbed this information, watched her go from confusion to disbelief to horror to absolute fury. By the time they finished, she was shaking. "He tried to kill her," she said, her voice trembling. "Marcus tried to murder my sister." "We have him on recording admitting to it," Dr. Patel said. "The police are on their way." Jennifer looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Is it true?" she asked. "Did he really do this to you?" One blink. "Yes." "Oh, God," Jennifer said, covering her face with her hands. "Oh, God, Sarah, I'm so sorry. I liked him. I trusted him. I never suspected. I never thought." Two police detectives arrived about 10 minutes later. Detective Morrison and Detective Park. They were both in their 40s, experienced, serious. Emma played the recording for them while they listened with increasingly grim expressions. "This is gold," Detective Morrison said when it finished. "We've got motive, opportunity, and a confession, but we need to confirm the brake lines were actually cut." "The car was totaled in the accident," Dr. Patel said. "Is there any way to still check? If it hasn't been scrapped yet, our forensics team can examine it." Detective Park said, "Even with crash damage, a deliberate cut should still be distinguishable from normal wear or crash damage. The pattern is different." "What about Marcus?" Jennifer asked. "Is he going to be arrested?" "We need to be strategic about this." Detective Morrison said, "If we arrest him now, his lawyer will claim the recording is inadmissible, or that he was just talking tough for his girlfriend. We need the physical evidence from the car, and honestly, it would be better if we could get him to confess again, this time to us." "How?" Emma asked. Detective Park smiled grimly. "We set up a sting. We let Marcus think everything is going according to plan. Let him think. Sarah is still unresponsive. Tomorrow, when he comes in to meet with doctor, but tell about withdrawing life support. We'll have officers in the room undercover, and we'll see if we can get him to admit what he did." "Is that safe?" Jennifer asked, looking at me with worry. "What if he tries something?" "We'll have multiple officers here," Detective Morrison assured her. "Your sister will be completely safe, and this way we can make sure he goes away for a very long time." They worked out the details. Dr. Patel would call Marcus in the morning and tell him it was time to discuss Sarah's prognosis and options. Marcus would come in expecting to sign paperwork to withdraw life support, but instead, he'd walk into a trap. "Sarah," Detective Park said, coming to stand by my bed, "I know this is frightening, but can you be brave for one more day? Can you pretend to still be unresponsive when Marcos comes tomorrow? We need him to feel confident, safe. That's when people get careless and admit things." One blink. Yes, I could do it. I could lie there and let Marcus think he was getting away with murder for one more day if it meant he'd spend the rest of his life in prison. "You're incredibly brave," Detective Park said. "We're going to get justice for you. I promise." Jennifer stayed with me that night. The nurses brought in a recliner so she could sleep in my room. She held my hand and talked to me for hours, telling me about everything that had happened in the 2 weeks since the accident, about how worried everyone had been, about the prayer vigils at my school, about our parents who were on a cruise in Alaska and didn't even know about the accident yet because Jennifer hadn't wanted to worry them until there was news. "I'll call them tomorrow," Jennifer said, "after Marcus is arrested. I can't tell them everything over the phone. They'll need to be here. They loved Marcus, too. This is going to destroy them. It was going to destroy a lot of people. My parents, my friends, my colleagues at school. Everyone who thought Marcus was this wonderful, devoted husband. Everyone who'd comforted him and told him how sorry they were for his loss. They were all going to find out the truth. But right now, I didn't care about their feelings. I cared about justice, about making Marcus pay for what he'd done to me, for the 2 weeks of hell he'd put me through, lying paralyzed while he planned my funeral, for trying to kill me, for betraying 8 years of marriage for money and a younger woman. The rage still burned in me, would probably always burn in me, but now it had a purpose. Now it had a direction. Marcus was going to prison, and I was going to make sure of it. The next morning, Dr. Patel called Marcus at 9 a.m. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I heard Dr. Patel's side of it. "Mr. Chen, this is Dr. Patel. I need you to come in today at 2 p.m. It's time we had a serious discussion about Sarah's prognosis and your options moving forward. Yes, I'm afraid there's been no change. I'll explain everything when you get here. Please come alone. We'll need to discuss some difficult decisions." Marcus apparently agreed because Dr. Patel thanked him and hung up. He looked at me and Jennifer. "He's coming at 2 RAS," he said. "The police will be here by 1:30 to set up." Those hours crawled by. Jennifer held my hand. Emma came in and out, checking on me, offering encouragement. The detectives arrived at 1:30 as promised, along with 2 uniformed officers who would wait outside the room. Detective Morrison and Detective Park positioned themselves near the door where they could observe but wouldn't be immediately visible to Marcus when he entered. They put a small recording device on Dr. Patel's coat pocket, another one on Emma's scrubs. They were taking no chances. Everything Marcus said would be recorded from multiple sources. At 1:55, Jennifer kissed my forehead. "You can do this," she whispered. "Just stay still, stay calm, let him hang himself." She left the room reluctantly, going to wait with the uniformed officers in the hallway. It would just be me, Dr. Patel, Emma, and the 2 detectives hiding near the door when Marcus arrived. At 2:30 p.m., I heard his footsteps in the hallway, heard his voice thanking a nurse for directions. And then the door opened, and Marcus walked into the room. He looked tired, stressed. There were dark circles under his eyes. Good. I hoped he wasn't sleeping well. I hoped guilt was eating him alive, though I doubted it. Marcus had proven himself to be a psychopath. He'd probably just been stressed about pulling off his plan. "Dr. Patel," Marcus said, shaking the doctor's hand. "Thank you for meeting with me." "Of course," Dr. Patel said. "Please sit down. We need to discuss Sarah's condition." Marcus sat in the chair next to my bed, the same chair Kelly had sat in when they discussed buying a condo with my insurance money. He looked at me with what I'm sure he thought was a sad expression. "How is she?" he asked. "There's been no change," Dr. Patel said. "I've conducted extensive neurological testing. The scans show minimal brain activity. She's not responsive to stimuli. In my professional opinion, she's in a persistent vegetative state with no likelihood of recovery." I wanted to scream at the lie, wanted to open my eyes and show Marcus that I was very much aware, very much alive, very much about to destroy him. But I stayed still, kept my breathing even, played dead, like the corpse he wanted me to be. "I see," Marcus said quietly. "So what are my options?" "You have medical power of attorney," Dr. Patel said, "which means you can make the decision about continuing life support or withdrawing it. If we remove the ventilator, Sarah would pass within a few hours. It would be peaceful. She wouldn't feel any pain." "And you think that's the right decision?" Marcus asked. "To let her go?" "Say it," I thought. "Say you want me dead. Give them a reason to be suspicious." "I think it's your decision to make," Dr. Patel said carefully. "But I can tell you that her quality of life, even if she were to miraculously wake up, would be severely compromised. She'd need round-the-clock care. She'd likely have significant cognitive impairment. She wouldn't be the Sarah you knew." Marcus nodded slowly. "Sarah and I talked about this once. He said, years ago, she told me she'd never want to be kept alive by machines, that if something like this ever happened, she'd want to be let go with dignity." Liar. We'd never had that conversation. I'd never told him anything like that. He was making it up to justify killing me. "Did she have that in writing?" Dr. Patel asked. "A living will or advance directive?" "No," Marcus said. It was just a conversation, but I know what she would want. And honestly, seeing her like this for the past 2 weeks, it's been torture for both of us. I think it's time to let her go." "Are you sure?" Dr. Patel pressed. "This is a permanent decision. Once we withdraw life support, there's no going back." "I'm sure," Marcus said firmly. "It's what Sarah would want, and it's what's best for her. She's not living. She's just existing. That's not fair to her. What's not fair, I thought, is that you tried to murder me for insurance money. What's not fair is that you're sitting here pretending to care about my dignity when really you just want to finish what you started." "There is one more thing," Marcus said. "The life insurance. How long after she passes? How long until that's processed?" There it was, the slip, the reveal of what this was really about. Dr. Patel's expression didn't change. "I'm not sure," he said. "That would be a question for the insurance company." "Why do you ask?" "I just want to make sure I can cover the funeral expenses," Marcus said quickly. "And there will be medical bills. I want to make sure everything is taken care of properly." "Of course," Dr. Patel said. "Though I should mention, before we proceed with withdrawing life support, there are some legal formalities. The hospital requires a consultation with our ethics board in cases like this. And because Sarah's accident is still under investigation by the police investigation," Marcus interrupted. "What investigation?" "It was just an accident. Her brakes failed in the rain. Standard procedure for accidents resulting in severe injury," Dr. Patel said smoothly. "They want to rule out any vehicular defects that might pose a danger to other drivers. I believe they're examining her car's brake system." I could see Marcus's face go pale. "They're examining the brakes?" "Yes," Dr. Patel said. "Just routine. Nothing to worry about unless there was something wrong with them that would have caused the failure." This was it, the moment of truth. Would Marcus panic? Would he say something incriminating? "No," Marcus said, but his voice was strained. "Nothing wrong with them. They were just old, worn out." "Were they?" Dr. Patel asked. "Forgive me, but I thought Sarah's car was only from 2015. "That's not very old for brake failure, is it?" "It was a used car," Marcus said quickly. "Who knows what condition it was in?" "Look, what does this have to do with withdrawing life support?" "Nothing really, Doctor," Patel said. "I'm just trying to understand the accident. It must have been terrifying for you, getting that call, finding out your wife had been in such a terrible crash." "It was," Marcus said. "The worst day of my life." "I bet. I bet it was terrible when your murder plan only half worked and left me alive to potentially identify you as the culprit." Detective Morrison stepped forward from his position near the door. "Actually, Mr. Chin, I'd like to hear more about that." Marcus jumped, turning to see the detective for the first time. "Who are you?" "Detective Morrison, Portland Police." He showed his badge. "I'm investigating your wife's accident. Do you have a few minutes to answer some questions?" I already talked to the police," Marcus said, "right after the accident." "I know," Detective Morrison said, "but some new information has come to light. For instance, did you know that brake line failure in a 2015 vehicle is extremely rare, especially in a car that's been regularly maintained? And Sarah's car was maintained regularly, wasn't it? You took it in for oil changes every few months." Yes, I think so," Marcus stammered. "You think so?" Detective Morris impressed. "You don't remember? Because according to the maintenance records from her dealership, the car had just been serviced 3 weeks before the accident. Everything checked out fine, including the brakes." Marcus stood up. "I don't know what you're implying, but I don't have to answer these questions. If you want to talk to me, you can contact my lawyer." "You're right," Detective Morrison said. "But I thought you'd want to help us figure out what happened to your wife, unless you already know what happened." "Of course, I don't know," Marcus said, his voice rising. "Her brakes failed. That's what happened. It was an accident." "Was it?" Detective Park said, stepping forward now too. Because we examined the wreckage yesterday, and our forensics team found something interesting. The brake lines weren't just worn, they were deliberately cut, partially severed so they'd fail under pressure. Someone sabotaged your wife's car, Mr. Chen. Someone tried to kill her. Marcus's face went from pale to ashen. That's impossible. Who would want to hurt Sarah? She's a teacher. Everyone loves her. That's what we're trying to figure out, Detective Morrison said. Who had access to her car? Who knew her schedule? Who would benefit from her death? I don't know, Marcus said. But he was sweating now. I could see beads of perspiration on his forehead. Really? Detective Park said. Because I can think of someone who had access to her car every night, someone who knew she'd be driving on the highway that night, someone who would collect millions of dollars in insurance money if she died. You think I did this? Marcus said, his voice incredulous. You think I tried to kill my own wife? That's insane. I love Sarah. I've been here every day praying for her to wake up. Have you? Detective Morrison said. Because we have witnesses who say you've been spending most of your time here with your assistant, Kelly Morrison, and that the two of you seem very close. Marcus's jaw clenched. Kelly is a colleague, a friend. She's been supporting me through this difficult time. Is that all she is? Detective Park asked. Just a colleague? Because we have reason to believe you and Miss Morrison have been having an affair for the past 8 months. That's a lie, Marcus said. Who told you that? Your wife, Detective Morrison said quietly. The room went silent. Marcus stared at the detective. What? Your wife told us, Detective Morrison repeated. About the affair, about your plans to withdraw life support, about the insurance money, about the condo in the Pearl District, about your trip to Bali. She told us everything, Marcus. That's impossible, Marcus said, but his voice was shaking now. She can't talk. She's brain dead. You said so yourself. He looked at Dr. Patel, desperate for confirmation, but Dr. Patel just looked back at him steadily. I said she was in a persistent vegetative state, Dr. Patel said. I lied. What? Marcus said. Your wife has locked-in syndrome, Dr. Patel explained. She's been fully conscious this entire time. She can hear everything, understand everything. She just can't move or speak, but she can communicate. And she's told us everything you said to Kelly Morrison in this room over the past 2 weeks. Everything about the affair, about the insurance money, about planning her funeral while she was still alive, and most importantly, about how you cut her bra lines. Marcus stumbled backward. No, he said. No, she can't. You never what? Detective Park said. Never cut her brake lines because we have you on recording saying you did exactly that. Want to hear it? Detective Morrison pulled out his phone and played the audio. Marcus's voice came through clearly. Yeah, I did it. 2 days before the accident, I went out to her car in the middle of the night and cut the brake lines most of the way through. Weakened them enough that they'd fail under pressure, but not so much that she'd notice anything wrong right away. Marcus's face crumpled as he heard his own confession played back to him. Where did you get that? He whispered from your wife. Detective Morrison said she had help recording it. Turns out, when you're planning to murder someone, you should probably make sure they're actually unconscious before you confess. Marcus looked at me, then really looked at me, and I let him see it. Let him see my eyes, track his movement. Let him see that I was aware that I'd heard everything, that I'd been conscious for every cruel word, every betrayal, every moment of his performance as the devoted husband. Sarah, he said, his voice breaking. You've been awake? I blinked once deliberately. Yes. Oh, God, Marcus said. Oh, God, Sarah, I can explain. It wasn't. I didn't mean Marcus Chen, Detective Morrison said, pulling out handcuffs. You're under arrest for the attempted murder of Sarah Chen. You have the right to remain silent. Marcus didn't seem to hear the Miranda warning. He was still staring at me, his face a mask of horror. "Sarah, please," he said as Detective Park pulled his arms behind his back. "Please, it wasn't supposed to be like this. I didn't want you to suffer. It was supposed to be quick. You weren't supposed to feel anything. Please, you have to understand. Mr. Chen, stop talking," Detective Morrison said sharply. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in court." But Marcus couldn't stop. "I loved you," he said, tears streaming down his face now. "I did love you, Sarah. But things changed. I changed. Kelly and I, we just fit together, and I couldn't afford a divorce. The business was underwater. I needed that insurance money. I needed to start over. Please try to understand." They dragged him out of the room, still talking, still trying to justify what he'd done, and I lay there in the bed watching him go, feeling a savage satisfaction I'd never felt before. He was caught. He was going to prison, and I was alive to see it. Jennifer rushed back in the moment they took Marcus away. She was crying, laughing, hugging Emma and Dr. Patel. "You did it," she said to me, coming to hold my hand. "Sarah, you did it," he confessed. "They have everything. He's going away forever. One blank." Yes, it was over. The nightmare was finally over. The next few days were a whirlwind. Kelly Morrison was arrested as an accomplice. The forensics report confirmed that the brake lines had been deliberately cut. The recordings were admitted as evidence. Marcus's lawyer tried to get them thrown out, tried to argue entrapment or coercion, but it didn't work. The evidence was overwhelming. My parents flew back from Alaska. They were devastated by everything: the accident, my condition, Marcus's betrayal, but mostly they were just grateful I was alive, grateful that I was conscious and aware, grateful that I'd survived Marcus's murder attempt. "We're going to get you the best care," my father said, holding my hand with tears in his eyes. "The best therapists, the best doctors. We're going to help you recover as much as possible." And they did. Over the next few weeks, I was transferred to a specialized rehabilitation center, started intensive physical therapy with specialists in locked-in syndrome. Slowly, painfully, I began to regain tiny amounts of movement, a twitch in my fingers, a slight movement in my toes. The doctor said it was miraculous, that most locked syndrome patients never recover any motor function. But I was determined. Fueled by rage and the need for revenge, I wanted to stand up at Marcus's trial, wanted to look him in the eye and tell him exactly what he'd put me through, wanted him to see that he hadn't broken me, that I'd survived despite his best efforts. 6 months after the accident, I could move my right hand enough to use a special computer that tracked my finger movements. I could type out full sentences instead of spelling things letter by letter. My voice was starting to come back too, though it was weak and slurred. But it was my voice, my words, and I was going to use them to bury Marcus. The trial happened 8 months after the accident. Marcus pleaded not guilty, which was a joke considering all the evidence against him. But his lawyer tried anyway, tried to argue that the recordings were taken out of context, that Marcus had been under extreme stress and just venting to his girlfriend, that he'd never actually cut the brake lines. But the forensics were clear. The brake lines had been deliberately severed, and there were security camera footage from the salvage yard showing Marcus visiting 3 weeks before the accident, the same salvage yard where he'd admitted to practicing on a junk car. I testified via video link from the rehab center. With Jennifer's help and my speech computer, I told the jury everything. Every moment of consciousness while paralyzed, every cruel word I'd heard, every betrayal, every moment of terror when I thought Marcus would succeed in killing me by withdrawing life support. The courtroom was silent when I finished. Several jurors were crying. Marcus was staring at the table, unable to look at me. Kelly, sitting in the gallery after pleading guilty to lesser charges in exchange for testimony, was sobbing into her hands. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours, guilty on all counts: attempted first-degree murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. Kelly got 10 years for being an accomplice. I was in the courtroom for the sentencing in my wheelchair with my family around me. When the judge read the sentence, I felt a weight lift off my chest that I'd been carrying for months. Justice. Finally, justice. Marcus looked at me as they led him away in shackles. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. But what could he say? What words could possibly make up for what he'd done? I looked him in the eye and with enormous effort lifted my right hand and I gave him the middle finger. The bailiffs dragged him away. I never saw him again. That was 2 years ago. Now I'm sitting in my parents' living room typing this story on my computer. I've recovered more than the doctors ever expected. I can walk with a cane. I can talk, though my speech is still a bit slurred. I can use my hands well enough to type and feed myself and do most daily activities. I'll never be 100% again, but I'm alive. I'm free, and Marcus is rotting in a prison cell where he belongs. I went back to teaching last fall, part-time at first. But now I'm back full-time. My students were amazing when I returned. They threw me a welcome back party and made cards and told me how inspiring I was. I didn't feel inspiring. I just felt grateful to be alive. I've been going to therapy, working through the trauma of everything that happened. The betrayal, the attempted murder, the 2 weeks of horror, lying paralyzed while my husband planned my death. It's not easy. Some days are harder than others. But I'm healing slowly but surely. The divorce was finalized a year ago. I got everything. The house, the assets, everything Marcus had tried to steal from me. I sold the house. Too many bad memories. Bought a smaller place closer to my school. Started over. And Emma, the nurse who saved my life. We're best friends now. She visits every week, brings wine, and we watch terrible reality TV and laugh about nothing. She's the reason I'm alive. If she hadn't noticed my tears that day, hadn't believed me, hadn't recorded Marcus's confession, I'd be dead. Marcus would have withdrawn life support, and no one would have ever known it was murder. I think about that sometimes, about how close Marcus came to getting away with it. If the accident had killed me instantly, he'd be living in a penthouse with Kelly, spending my insurance money, and everyone would have thought he was the devoted husband who'd lost his wife too soon. The thought makes me sick, but it also makes me grateful. Grateful that I survived. Grateful that the truth came out. Grateful that justice was served. People ask me if I'm angry, if I hate Marcus. And honestly, I don't know. Hate is exhausting. Rage is exhausting. I spent so many months consumed by it, lying in that hospital bed with nothing but my fury to keep me company. But now I'm just tired of thinking about him, tired of giving him any space in my mind. What Marcus did was evil, unforgivable. He tried to murder me for money. He betrayed 8 years of marriage without a second thought. He stood over my hospital bed and planned my funeral while I lay there, conscious and aware. There's no coming back from that. No redemption arc, no forgiveness. But he doesn't get to define the rest of my life. He doesn't get to be the story I tell. I'm more than what he did to me. I'm a teacher, a sister, a daughter, a friend, a survivor. I'm Sarah Chen, and I'm alive despite his best efforts. To anyone listening to this story, I want you to hear this. Trust your instincts about people. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe the best in someone. Don't stay in a relationship that doesn't feel right just because you've invested years in it. Your life is valuable. You are valuable. And if someone makes you feel otherwise, get out. Get help. Tell someone. And to anyone who's going through something similar, who's trapped in a relationship with someone who wants to harm you, you're not alone. There are people who will believe you, who will help you, who will fight for you. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to live. I survived because one nurse took the time to see me, to really see me, to believe that I was still in there, still conscious, still fighting. Emma saved my life by simply paying attention, by trusting her instincts, by refusing to give up on me. We all have the power to be that person for someone else, to see them, to believe them, to help them. Use that power. It might save a life. As for me, I'm building a new life, one that doesn't include Marcus or Kelly or the nightmare they put me through. I'm dating again, a fellow teacher who's kind and patient and nothing like Marcus. I'm traveling. I went to Bali last summer, the place Marcus and Kelly had planned to visit with my insurance money. I scattered ashes of my old life there. Let the ocean take them away. I'm not the same person I was before the accident. How could I be? I've been through hell and back. I've experienced things I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I've stared death in the face and survived. That changes you, hardens you in some ways, but also makes you appreciate the little things more. A sunrise, a good cup of coffee, a student who finally understands a difficult concept, a friend who makes you laugh until you cry. Life is precious. Life is short, and I'm not wasting another second of mine on hatred or fear or the shadow of what Marcus tried to do to me. I'm free. I'm alive, and every day I wake up is a victory. Marcus wanted me dead, but I'm still here, still breathing, still fighting, still living, and I'm gonna live the best damn life I can, just despite him. That's my revenge. Not hatred, not wishing him harm in prison, just living, thriving, being happy despite what he did to me. They say living well is the best revenge. I plan to test that theory thoroughly. And to Marcus, if you ever somehow hear this story from whatever cell you're rotting in, I hope every day you're reminded that you failed. I hope you lie awake at night, knowing that I'm out here living my best life while you're trapped behind bars. I hope the other inmates know exactly what you did, that you tried to murder your wife for insurance money like the coward you are. I hope you have decades to think about how spectacularly your plan backfired, how your greed and selfishness cost you everything, your freedom, your reputation, your future. You thought you were so smart, so clever, cutting my brake lines and making it look like an accident. But you underestimated me. You underestimated my will to survive. You underestimated that someone would actually care enough to notice I was still conscious. And most of all, you underestimated how stupid you were to confess your crime while standing over my supposedly unconscious body. I want you to know that every happy moment I have from now on is a testament to your failure. Every laugh, every sunrise I see, every student I teach, every time I hold hands with someone who actually loves me, every breath I take is proof that you didn't win. You didn't break me. You didn't destroy me. You just made me stronger. Kelly's in prison too, in case you're wondering. Last I heard, she's realized what a massive mistake she made, throwing her life away for a married man who turned out to be a murderer. She wrote me a letter once trying to apologize. I burned it, without reading past the first line. I don't care about her apologies. I don't care about her regrets. She made her choices. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Your business collapsed, by the way. Once word got out about what you did, every client dropped you. Your partners bought you out for pennies. Your reputation is destroyed. Your name is synonymous with attempted murder and betrayal. Everything you worked for, everything you built, gone. All because you were too greedy and too cowardly to just ask for a divorce like a normal person. Was it worth it, Marcus? Was Kelly worth it? Was the promise of $2 million worth spending the rest of your life in prison? Worth losing everything? Worth becoming the villain in a story that will be told for years as a cautionary tale? I hope not. I hope you realize every single day what a catastrophic mistake you made. I hope it eats at you. I hope you have nightmares about that moment in the hospital room when you realized I'd been conscious the whole time, when you understood that every word you'd said, every plan you'd made, every cruel dismissal of our marriage, I'd heard it all. That moment when our eyes met and you finally saw me, really saw me, aware, conscious, judging you. I replay that moment sometimes when I'm feeling down. The absolute terror on your face, the dawning horror as you understood what you'd done, what you'd confessed, that your perfect murder had unraveled completely. It brings me joy, Marcus. Your downfall brings me genuine joy. Does that make me a bad person? Maybe, but I think I've earned the right to take pleasure in your suffering after what you put me through. I testified at Kelly's sentencing, too. Made sure the judge understood exactly what she'd done, how she'd participated in planning my death, how she'd tried on my jewelry while I lay paralyzed, how she'd laughed about spending my insurance money. The judge called her morally bankrupt and complicit in one of the most callous crimes he'd ever seen. She sobbed through the whole sentencing, begged for mercy, said she was young and stupid and in love, and didn't know what she was doing. The judge didn't care. Neither did I. She knew exactly what she was doing. She made her choices. Now she's paying for them. 10 years isn't enough, in my opinion, but at least she's behind bars. At least her 20s are being spent in a cell instead of in that penthouse she wanted so badly. At least she's learning that actions have consequences, that you can't just participate in someone's attempted murder and expect to walk away unscathed. Your families were destroyed, too. Your mother stopped speaking to you, didn't she? Refused to come to the trial. Told reporters she didn't recognize the man you'd become. Kelly's parents mortgaged their house to pay for her defense. They're broke now, both families torn apart by your selfish, evil choices. But you know whose families are thriving? Mine. My parents, who stood by me through every moment of my recovery. My sister Jennifer, who never left my side. My friends who rallied around me and supported me through the darkest time of my life. Emma and her family, who welcomed me into their lives with open arms. Even Emma's brother, the man I'm dating now, who's shown me what real love actually looks like. What a partner who actually values your life looks like. We had a dinner party last month. Everyone I love gathered around my new table in my new house. We ate and laughed and told stories and celebrated life, celebrated survival, celebrated justice. And not once did anyone mention your name. You've become irrelevant to my story, Marcus. A footnote, the villain who lost. Nothing more. That's what kills me the most. I think if you'd just been honest with me, if you'd just come to me 2 years ago and said, "Sarah, I'm not happy anymore. I want a divorce," I would have been devastated, heartbroken, angry probably. But we could have handled it like adults, split our assets, moved on with our lives. You'd be free right now. You could be with Kelly if you still wanted to be. You could have your business, your reputation, your life. But you were too greedy, too cowardly, too selfish. You wanted everything. The insurance money, the house, your business, Kelly, and you were willing to murder me to get it. And now you have nothing. Absolutely nothing but a prison cell and decades to think about your mistakes. There's a certain poetic justice in that, don't you think? I've thought a lot about why you did it, why you chose murder over divorce, and I've come to the conclusion that you're just broken inside. Something fundamentally wrong with your moral compass, with your empathy, with your basic human decency. Normal people don't look at their spouse of 8 years and think, "I should kill her for insurance money." Normal people don't sabotage someone's car and send them to their probable death. Normal people don't stand over their dying wife's hospital bed and plan a funeral while kissing their mistress. You're not normal, Marcus. You're a sociopath, a narcissist, a murderer in your heart, even if your plan didn't succeed. And I'm glad I found out before you had another chance, because you would have tried again, wouldn't you? If I'd survived the accident but stayed in that vegetative state, you would have pulled the plug, killed me legally, and no one would have questioned it, because you played the devoted husband so well. But you underestimated locked-in syndrome. You underestimated my consciousness. You underestimated Emma's compassion and attention to detail. You underestimated how thoroughly your own words would condemn you. And now you're paying for it. Good. I hope you live a long, long life, Marcus. I hope you survive to a ripe old age in that prison. Not because I wish you well, but because I want you to have as many years as possible to regret what you did, to think about what you lost, to imagine the life you could have had if you just made different choices. Every year on the anniversary of the accident, I celebrate. Not the accident itself, but my survival, my victory over you. I buy myself something nice, do something I've always wanted to do. Last year, I went skydiving, confronted my fear of heights, and fell through the sky with the biggest smile on my face. This year, I'm planning a trip to New Zealand, living my life to the fullest. And every year you'll wake up in a cell, eat prison food, follow prison rules, live a prison life for the next 25 years, minimum, probably longer. Because even after you're eligible for parole, I'll be there at every hearing, testifying, reminding the board exactly what you did, making sure they understand that you're still a danger, still a manipulative, selfish murderer who doesn't deserve freedom. I'll be your worst nightmare, Marcus, the ghost you can't escape, the victim who survived to make sure you never hurt anyone else. You wanted to erase me from your life to make me disappear so you could start fresh. But instead, I'm the only thing you have left, the only thing that matters in your story. You're the man who tried to murder his wife and failed. That's your legacy. That's what you'll be remembered for. Not your business success, not your ambitions, just your spectacular failure as a human being. And me? I'm the woman who survived, who fought back, who got justice. That's my legacy, and I'm okay with that. So, thank you, Marcus. Thank you for showing me what real evil looks like. Thank you for teaching me how strong I actually am. Thank you for making me appreciate every single day of my life in a way I never did before. Thank you for introducing me to Emma, who's become one of my closest friends. Thank you for forcing me to rebuild my life into something even better than what I had before. Thank you for failing. I'm done talking about you now. Done giving you space in my head. This is the last time I'll tell this story in detail. The last time I'll walk through every painful moment of those 2 weeks in hell. I needed to tell it once fully, completely, so the world would know what you did, so your name would be permanently attached to this crime so no one would ever forget. But after this, you're nothing to me. Less than nothing. Just a bad memory that's fading more every day. I'm moving on. I'm living. I'm thriving. I'm happy, and you're not. That's all the revenge I need. If you're watching this, and you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story, for bearing witness to what happened to me, for supporting me through this journey by simply being here and hearing my truth. I hope you never have to experience what I went through. I hope you never feel the betrayal of someone you love trying to kill you. I hope you never spend 2 weeks paralyzed and helpless while your spouse plans your funeral. But if you do, if something like this ever happens to you, please know this. You can survive. You are strong enough. There are people who will help you, people who will believe you, people who will fight for you. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep surviving, because living well really is the best revenge. And on that note, I'm signing off. I have a date with my boyfriend tonight. We're going to that new Italian restaurant downtown. Tomorrow, I'm teaching my favorite lesson of the year to my students. This weekend, I'm hiking with Jennifer and her kids. Next month, I'm attending Emma's wedding as her maid of honor. I have a life, a beautiful, full, meaningful life. And Marcus has a cell. I think we both got exactly what we deserved. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. And remember, trust your instincts, protect yourself, and never, ever underestimate the power of a woman who refuses to die. This is Sarah Chen, and I'm alive, still breathing, still fighting, still winning.